From teacher to student, for over 3,000 years, the Torah has been studied and passed on. When one learns and receives Torah from their teacher, they become the next link in that godly chain. From Moshe to the Nevi'im, from the Tanoim to the Amoraim, and the Rishonim through the Acharonim, the Torah has been studied and passed on through our storied history. Become the next link on this chain. Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov.
Testing. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Aboim, and Mazel Tov to all those who are gathered here to celebrate the Musmachim of Machon Smicha Tavshin Pei Hey. Bereshus, all the Rabbanim, some of whom have flown across the world to be here for this event, and Bereshus, all the Musmachim, the family, the friends, etc. We are going to begin the official ceremony part of the evening. The theme of this year's Chag Hasmicha is Ish Mipi Ish Ad Moshe Rabbeinu, which needs no explanation in the sense that the Musmachim here have been learning a Torah that has been preserved and passed down, teacher to student, all the way back to Moshe Rabbeinu. And it is true that the formal Smicha is no longer available to us, but nevertheless, when these Musmachim, these Messiahim, when anybody in fact learns Torah, they are connecting themselves to a Hishtalshelus, to a chain of Torah learning, a chain of tradition that goes back thousands of years. We are going to begin with something that is never far from our hearts, the situation in Eretz Yisrael, Levi B'Mizrach, and what we have seen over the past few weeks, tremendous nisim, but also tremendous heartbreak. So on that note, we will start with Tehillim for Eretz Yisrael. I want to actually call out one of the assignment, one of the people who's finishing the Dayan program, Mati Friedman, to lead us in the capital Tehillim. Mati, in addition to himself going through a little bit of a health situation right now, actually last month had a nephew who was a 21-year-old Army combat medic who unfortunately passed away. So to honor Daniel Yehuda and Mordechai Friedman, I'm going to call out Mati Friedman to lead us in Kapitel Chof of Tehillim. Everybody please rise.
Like Rabbi Kesselman says in the Mendel,
in the Lite they didn't hear the sound.
Kapitel Chof. L'matzeach Yisrael David. Yad V'Aleh B'Yatzo Yisagef Hashem Yaakov. Yishlach V'Socha B'Kodesh L'Tzion Yisodeka. Yizkor Kol Mitfotzecha V'Loschol Yidash Nesela.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call up now Rabbi Mendel Prescott to share with us at Dvar Torah. Rabbi Mendel Prescott is the Rosh Yeshiva of Machon Smicha, and although he's only been with Machon Smicha for a year now, has brought a tremendous dynamism and energy to the Talmidim's experience, learning halacha in whatever course they may be, and that goes both for advanced Talmidim, helping them, take the sugya to the next level, but also people who need more support to really engage them and support them. And I think I speak for everybody to give Rabbi Prescott a yasher koyach. So on that note, Rabbi Prescott.
Mazel tov, mazel tov. Hinei matov umanoyim sheves achim gam yachad. These words become all the more meaningful when a sheves achim that has until this point been virtual finally comes together in person. It's wonderful to see familiar faces, hear familiar voices, and finally be under one roof together. Welcome. Chazal teach us, Mesechtes Tainis, Av Zayin Amar Aleph, Amar Rabbi Chanina, Harbe lamadati mi Rabboisai, umechavera yoser mi Rabboisai, umitalmida yoser mi kulam. I learned much from my teachers, and from my colleagues and my friends, I have learned more than from my teachers. But from my students, I have learned most of all. For the first time, I can say this with complete confidence. Umitalmidai yoser mi kulam. From my students, most of all. The dedication, the hasmada, the unwavering commitment that people with demanding schedules and busy lives have demonstrated. Your consistency and devotion to Limud HaTorah has truly been inspirational. I know this through our conversations. You've continued learning through your simchas, through your recoveries from illness, while traveling for work, while on a vacation with your family. Your commitment to Limud HaTorah never wavered. It's been a tremendous chizuk, teaching me the incredible amount we can accomplish when we dedicate our hearts, minds, and time to this most sacred of tasks. The Gemara in Nedarim and Daf Nun Amud Beis tells us a remarkable story. Rabbi was celebrating his son's wedding. The Gemara tells us that Rabbi, the cost was 24,000 Divrei Zahav. With inflation, it puts it about to $20 to $24 million on this wedding. Truly an exorbitant sum. The night before the wedding, Bar Kapara, one of Rebbe's prime disciples, Talmidim Muvhakim, approaches Rebbe's daughter with a prediction. Tomorrow, at your brother's wedding, your mother will be pouring me wine while your father dances in front of me. The wedding night arrives, everybody's come together, and amid the grand celebration, Bar Kapara taps Rebbe on the shoulder, and he says, Rebbe, I have a shaila. You have a minute? I have a shaila. Now, the natural response would be, I'll be happy to speak with you after the wedding. But Rebbe immediately responds, what's the question? Bar Kapara asks, what is the precise definition of the word to'eva? How would you translate it? It's a word, doing my Shnayim Mikra, learning my Chumash. What's the translation? Rebbe proceeds to offer various translations. Bar Kapara rejects each one in turn. When Rebbe finally exhausts all his explanations, he turns to Bar Kapara. He says, what's your pshat? Bar Kapara responds, if you want my answer, go call your wife, bring a chair, have her pour a glass of wine, and dance, and I will tell you the pshat. Without hesitation, Rebbe complies. Only then does Bar Kapara reveal that the translation for Te'eva is Toya Ataba. You are mistaken in it. Someone that commits an act of Te'eva is fundamentally mistaken in their approach. Now, Bar Kapara wasn't finished. Middle of the second dance, he approaches Rebbe again. He says, Rebbe, how would you translate Tevel? Another word of the Torah. What's the translation for it? The same scenario unfolds. Rebbe offers numerous translations. Bar Kapara rejects each one. And again, demands that Rebbe dance while his wife serve him wine before revealing the pshat. This remarkable scene repeats itself 4 times. Each time, Bar Kapara prompting Rebbe with a question, demonstrating Rebbe's inability to answer it, and only acquiescing to his request. When his wife pours Bar Kapara a glass of wine, and Rebbe dances. The obvious question that the man's answering was, what was Bar Kapara thinking? What was Rebbe thinking? And perhaps most importantly, what was Rebbe's wife thinking? On the night of their son's wedding, couldn't Rebbe have simply said, I'll be glad to answer your questions after the simcha? Couldn't his wife have suggested, let's enjoy the wedding, and I'll gladly assist with your learning afterwards? Yet, again and again throughout the course of their son's wedding, they accommodated Bar Kapara's seemingly outrageous and outlandish requests. What was Bar Kapara's intention? What was his kavanah? The answer, I believe, reveals a profound lesson. The entire Klal Yisrael was present at this wedding. Thousands attended. The Marsha explains that at Rebbe's dual role as both the Rabban Shel Kol Bnei Yisrael, the author of the Mishnah, and the Nasi, the political leader, the Prince of Klal Yisrael, he was obligated to invite dignitaries and politicians from throughout the world to maintain favorable relationships with the broader community. This explains the Marsha, the enormous cost. Bar Kapara, a Talmud of Rebbe, was deeply concerned at the impression that this lavish and grand celebration would make. Attendees might conclude that what was Rebbe? Rebbe is simply a groiser gvir, a wealthy man, somebody that makes $20 million. That is who Rebbe is. That's what defines Rebbe. Bar Kapara wanted to demonstrate a different truth, a different reality to every guest present and the entire of Klal Yisrael, L'Doros. What truly defines Rabbeinu HaKadosh? Who is Rebbe? Rebbe is somebody that's willing to set aside his magnificent celebration, his $20 million wedding, in order to understand and connect to one more word of Torah. This is the lesson that resonates so powerfully with our gathering here tonight. Like Rebbe, you have shown that your true priority transcends all other commitments. Your devotion to learning, your consistency, your willingness to prioritize Torah regardless of circumstance. This is what defines who you are. Umi talmidai yoiser mekulam. Mazel tov, mazel tov.
The journey to Machon Smicha started long before. When I started this journey, I went from flying on Kol Nidre night and not being able to read a single aleph or base. I'd never learned to read Hebrew. At some point I made the decision and I went from keeping nothing on Friday to Shomer Shabbos on Friday afternoon.
I was in first grade and I came home with these workbooks to write Aleph Beis. And so he actually learned to write Hebrew with me.
It was the start of the journey, yes. Credit for my business success has to go to probably even more so or equally so to my wife. The potential for Aquazania cropped up on the horizon, a gift from Hashem. And my wife was reluctant to be in a water business because she didn't see the potential for helping people. The fact that Aquazania became the vehicle to help Jews earn a parnasa was the recipe for the success of my business. Growing it to that scale was something you come to realize at the end of that process when you're selling it. And being able to sell it was going to give me the opportunity to sit down and learn Torah, which I'd never had. My daughter said to me, Tati, why don't you try and do Smicha? I said, you're crazy. There's no ways that I can possibly do Smicha. The Rabbi said that in every household someone should have Smicha. I was encouraged by that concept. And so I signed up. Machon Smicha was great. They provided me with the materials, they provided me with the encouragement, and they made it possible for someone like me who'd never had a formal yeshiva background to be able to go through the program and see that it was possible to get Smicha. I spent probably 30 odd years being frustrated and intimidated by Torah texts. And one of the beauties of a program like Machon Smicha is that it converted unfamiliar and frustrating into remarkably familiar and pleasurable. I have to say that every single member of my family had a role to play in every part of my journey of getting involved in learning Torah.
My father often underscores his own worth and gives it to all of us children for giving him the ability and the time to do it. But really, he's the one who did it, and he earns and deserves that credit.
What Machon Smicha has given me is a very real understanding that it can't end with me. I have an obligation to give it to someone after me and for him to give it to someone after him, etc. Because that's the continuity of what Machon Smicha represents, this continuity of the Messiah all the way from Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai and continues ultimately until Mashiach, please God, should.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Prescott, for the Dvar Torah. Thank you very much to Shraga Jameson as well for being willing to... one thing I know about Shraga is that he loves when people talk about him in public. So I'll do that for another 10 minutes. Obviously, the most important people here are the Musmachim. So we saw one video of Shraga Jameson, but there are hundreds more. There's about 150 people with us here tonight who are finishing Smicha or Dayan, so one of the other programs here. There's about another 150 who are not here with us tonight, who are watching live. We have a very big contingency in Eretz Yisrael who is also, we're planning on coming in, and we're not able to come in. Rabbi Finkelstein, who many of you know, was also got stuck in Israel and is not able to be here. So I want to showcase in some way the Musmachim. So I would like to call up 4 Musmachim to share with us briefly about their experiences in Machon Smicha. I'm not going to call up every single Musmach. So I will introduce the 4 of them. You can all come up, you can stand on the side of the stage, and then we'll do one after the other, and I don't have to speak in between. So first we'll hear from Dr. David Rube, who is the Medical Director of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry at Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital in Florida. Dr. Rube actually suffered a pretty serious illness throughout the course of his smicha and nevertheless persevered, and it's beautiful to see you here tonight together with your family, so mazel tov. We're also going to hear from Rabbi Yaakov Weingrow, who is a non-profit consultant and attorney based out of Chicago. Yaakov is actually, I don't know if he knows this, but he's one of the oldest standing Talmidim of Machon Smicha. I think he started learning with us in 2019, and together with his chavrusa, who's not here, Rabbi Mendel have gone through, I think, Smicha, Chuppah v'Kiddushin, and Dayanos. So, well done to you. The third person is Yirmy Lite, who lives in Arizona, and Yirmy is going, whether he knows it or not, is going to be representing the many father and son duos that we have in our Smicha program. Yirmy and his son Ari have both gone through the Smicha program. I never asked if they were learning together because I've learned that question can get very sticky very quickly. But there are many such duos. I see some of them here tonight, so that's really beautiful when we see a father and son learning together, and for that, Yasher Koyach. And finally, in case 2 lawyers weren't enough, we're going to hear from also Mr. Jeremy Magence, who's the senior partner at Burgle Magence LLP. Jeremy lives between Woodmere and Toronto. All right, so all 4 of you can come up. We will start. The order will be David Rube, Yaakov Weingrow, Yirmy Lite, and Jeremy Magence.
Good evening and welcome to all the Musmachim, their families and friends. The Gemara in Maseches Sanhedrin, Daf 92a states, Amar Rav Sheshes, Kol ha'malame Torah ba'olam hazeh, zochel malamda lo'olam haba, shenemar u'marve gam hu yoreh. Rav Sheshes says, anyone who teaches Torah in this world is privileged and teaches it in the world to come. As it is stated, and he who satisfies abundantly, umarveh, shall be satisfied himself, yaireh. If you transpose the letters of marveh, it becomes maireh, meaning that one who teaches Torah currently will teach in Olam Haba. I would like to thank on behalf of myself, and I will go out on a limb and speak for everyone, about our wonderful Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Prescott and Rabbi Kesselman, Talmidei Chachamim, and wonderful teachers. When I was skeptical about taking on this challenge, and at various times in the year when it was tough to keep going, our Rabbanim have been instructive, supportive, and steadfast in their support for my, or shall I say our, learning. I am confident that other Musmachim feel similarly. I am Makar Tov to our Rosh Yeshivas for all of the above and for being Marbitze Torah par excellence. May you continue in your Habatzas HaTorah for many years in Olam Hazeh and continue in Olam Haba in the times of Mashiach Tzidkenu. I truly appreciate that my official first act as a rabbi is to deliver my first official sermon. So please settle in. However, if I do go too long, my children have agreed to sponsor Kiddush Club in the back. I would like to take a moment to thank Hashem for bringing me to this moment, a moment which I share with everyone in this room and with my family. My wife and I are blessed to welcome 3 of our 5 children and our wonderful and devoted in-law daughters and son. Dr. Yaakov and Dvar Rube, Rabbi Shmuel and Atara Rube, and Yocheved and Baruch Sturzer. We have 4 of our grandchildren here tonight, Shlomo, Mordechai, Elchanan, and baby Ahuva. I am transported tonight back to 1974, when I was a grandson at my Zadie's goodbye dinner in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and in 1999, when I was the son at my parents' retirement dinner in Detroit, Midor Lador. V'arevno Adonai Eloheinu es divrei sorascha b'finu v'fiyah amcha beis Yisrael, v'niyah anachnu v'tzetzoenu v'tzetzoei tzetzoenu, v'tzetzoei amcha beis Yisrael kulanu yodei shemecha, v'lamdei sorasecha lishma. May we and our descendants, and the descendants of our descendants, and the descendants of your people, the house of Israel, all be perceivers of your name and students of your Torah for its own sake. We are blessed that we have children and grandchildren who are the epitomes of this Brachah, the Harevna. I myself am the offspring of Torah role models. My parents, Achaz and Shlomo, whose name is on my Smicha certificate, and my beloved mother, Esther Rube. Aleim Mashal. I come from a long line of Rabbonim, Mohalim, Sheikhtim, and Shul Yidden. I am blessed to have my father, sister, and uncle with us, Shmuel and Sylvia Wertentile, my cousins, Miriam and A. Balkin, my beloved brothers, Reverend Saul Rube and Mr. Charles Rube, who both flew in from Detroit and South Florida, respectively, to join this Simcha with us, and I truly appreciate them being here. We reminisce together about the Torah we learned in Skokie Yeshiva and Yeshiva University. Our Boca Raton neighbor and a true Brooklynite, Mr. David Jacobson, always said, "Whenever you are in Brooklyn, stay by me." This falls under the category of be careful what you wish for. Thank you for being a wonderful friend and neighbor and keeping an eye on our children as they grew up. I believe that if I'm going to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu and thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I need to be specific in what I am thanking him for. In Parshas Acharemos, we have the most famous statement in Posik that says, "Ushmartem es chukosai ves mishpatai asher yaseh osam ha'adam v'chai bohem." There are many halachic implications of v'chai bohem. We learn of the necessity of being mechal Shabbos to preserve a life. We all know the limud of v'chai bohem and not v'yamus bohem. Another pshat is v'chai bohem means the Torah brings you life to those who keep it and learn it. During this year, both myself and my wife dealt with a few medical issues. I am convinced that the extra learning that I did, which my wife supported unconditionally, contributed greatly to our recovery. So thank you, Hashem, for watching over us, especially at this time of history of Klal Yisrael, when we need Hashem's guidance, support, and refuos. As a medical service announcement, gentlemen and ladies, please get your yearly blood work and all the tests that are necessary. It could save your life. Speaking of my wife, Sandra, Pirkei Avos describes in detail the Mesiras Nefesh that one does for Torah. I know that my children will agree that Ima's devotion to all of us and our learning and studying Torah is a great sacrifice. Her devotion to Torah and supporting my learning is 110%, if not more. Many weekends over the past year she spent on her own to take care of stuff that needed to get done and to make so I can make progress in my learning. I truly share this accomplishment with her, and this smicha belongs to both of us. Thank you, Rebitz and Rube, for all the love and support for this and all my other learning projects and the entire family's progress in learning Torah. You are an Eishes Chayil and a wonderful Ima. Squeezing in the waning moments of Chodesh Sivan, I'm going to comment on Chag HaShavuos. I thank Rabbi Gamliel Rabinovich and on his Sefer on Shavuos for his insights. As you know, it is important to prepare for upcoming Yomim Tovim. Chodesh Elul for Rosh Hashanah, Aser Shemei Tshuva for Yom Kippur, Shloshim Yom Lifnei Chag for Pesach. However, we should note that Shavuos, the smallest and least ritual-filled Yontif, has the longest preparation time, an entire 49 days, Sheva Shabsos Temimos Tiena. Kabbalas HaTorah demands and requires an extensive preparation. It is brought down that the Maggid of Mezrich was more fearful of Shavuos than Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, because Shavuos is the Rosh Hashanah of Ruchnius. The plan for our learning, our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, our commitment and kavonos and davening, etc., is decided on Shavuos. The Kedushas Levi says that the day of Shavuos is the wedding day between Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He makes the point that just as our averos are forgiven on the day of our wedding, so too on Shavuos. Siman Matan Torah Seinu, Matan in the present sense, meaning the Torah is consistently and constantly being given. When Rabbi Kesselman asked me to speak, to which I am truly honored, I asked him for a profile of the Musmachim. It is clear that we are a diverse group from all walks of life, retired and working men, and even yeshiva bachrim. Hashkafa knows no bounds in Machon Smicha. A fellow Musmach is a lawyer who also reported, as I did, he may be the one speaking next, that he too is used to studying, taking quizzes and tests, and the promise of a diploma is very motivating. Last year at this time, in the shadow of Shavuos of 5784, we all decided on Rosh Hashanah, last year of Ruchnius, that we will undertake a limud of Smicha and all the halachos in the Shulchan Aruch and take quizzes and tests and spend many hours steiging. It was decided last year on the Rosh Hashanah of Ruchnius that we will gather together with all our diversity under the flag of Torah with the support of our loved ones and our fellow Jewish brothers with our rabbonim and all the resources at our disposal. Even as we celebrate this tremendous accomplishment, I could speak for myself and wonder what lies ahead in the upcoming year for Ruchnius. At the risk of too much information, unbeknownst to me, my choice of my Machon Smicha password, pardon my psychiatric term, unconsciously reflected the decision and inspiration of last year's commitment to learning. I share it because it's too obvious. My password is Shavuos 5784. It is my Brachah and great Simcha that we all renew our commitment to Limud Torah in concrete accomplishments this coming year and for years to come. I hope and pray that there will be shalom and strength from HaKadosh Baruch Hu for all of us, our Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, Yasher Koyach, and Mazel Tov to all of us.
Hi, my name is Yaakov Weingrow from Chicago. My Havrusa and I started this program. We were the first ones, in the first group of Smicha participants. We were in the first group of Dayan participants. And we did this together. We were the canaries in the cave, and we were thrilled with the program. The support, the kindness, the availability, everything was really well done. But I wouldn't be standing here tonight if it wasn't for my Havrusa, Mendel. We've been learning together for 12 years. We've learned Hasidus, we've learned Halacha, we've learned Rambam, and having a Havrusa where you, we're having a Havrusa where you have a Kaviyas every day is a tremendous, tremendous motivation. Of course, you need to have flexibility, you need to have patience, but it pushed both of us to show up every single day and to be present and focused because we each wanted to be there for each other. So I'd like to encourage everybody here to take this on. If you just got Smicha, go for Dayanis. If you watched one of your family members do this, go ahead and do it yourself. There's no better way to do it than with a Havrusa. And there's no excuses. The Rebbe spoke many times about having a Havrusa in different igros, responding to Bachrim who said, I'm having headaches, I can't really learn. He said, the eighth is to have a Havrusa. No patience, I can't get myself to do it, I'm not sure I'm going to show up. He said, learn with a Havrusa. Having Kaviyas with a Chaver will get you to show up. And Torah is acquired with friends. So, really, everybody here is capable of doing this. And somebody mentioned learning and giving tribute to their wife. And I have to thank my wife and my family for being so flexible and for being so supportive. But you can actually, I don't want to throw you off here, but the women can learn this too. I don't know if Rabbi Kesselman will sign you up or take your money. But you can learn this too. It's relevant. We're talking about the laws of Shabbos, kashrus, etc. for smicha. The point is not to get smicha. I mean, the Rebbe wanted one person in every household to have smicha. But to learn, everybody should learn. The Rebbe encouraged women to learn constantly. And I can tell you, as a husband whose wife learns Rambam, I mean Rambam Mishnah Torah, not one of the other forms, how geschmack it is to have a wife who you can discuss Torah with. It's wonderful. And so, it's a different aspect of our relationship. So I would encourage not just the men here, but the women to, whether officially or unofficially, to join this program and sit and with these materials with your spouse, with your son, with whoever's participating, and go through this yourselves. You can do this too, and you can learn it, and then you can correct your husband just like you do with everything else. Anyway, I want to thank Rabbi Kesselman and Rabbi Prescott and everybody for being so supportive and running this program. Thank you very much.
Well, I understand the newly minted rabbi coming after me is also named Yirmy, and since we can't have two Jeremys in a row, hi, I'm Yirmy. And I want to start by telling you a story about all-night learning on Shavuos. When Chabad of Phoenix was founded by Rabbi Zalman and Zippy Levertov on the instructions of the Rebbe in 1977, Phoenix was a nothing town in the middle of the hot desert. Today, it is a huge city in the middle of the hot desert with a vibrant and growing Jewish population. This past Shavuos, just before all-night learning, Rabbi Levertov asked if I would teach something. Now, when Rabbi Levertov asks you to speak, he's not asking you anything. He's telling you. So I said, sure. And with little time to prepare, and wondering what to teach, I remembered that I had recently learned Hilchos Brorah for the Smicha program, so I would teach something from that. I decided to focus on the non-food related aspects of Brorah because I found those very interesting, and among them was this. The majority of poskim, including Chazon Ish, etc., all rule that Brorah does apply to Sfarim. Therefore, it is forbidden to remove chamashim from a pile of chamashim and sidorim with the intent of putting the chamashim away together. If the sforim are on top of each other and all over the table and mixed up, then they are certainly considered teruvis. It immediately became apparent that this was a huge mistake, because immediately everyone listening decided that they did not need to put away their sfarim on Shabbos anymore. Until Rabbi Levertov actually had to stand up and tell everyone that yes, it's okay to put away the sfarim because we need the tables for other things. What was the point of that story? It's this. With the completion of this Smicha program comes a big responsibility. Because even if you don't see yourself any differently, other people do see you differently. By the way, Rabbi Kesselman actually asked me to speak about my experience with the program and not to tell an embarrassing story about myself, so that was bonus content. My experience with the online Smicha program did not begin when I received the Machon Smicha books and was very relieved to see that they were translated into English. It did not begin when my good friend Dan Newman, who is also receiving Smicha tonight, opened my eyes to this program and what I never thought was possible. It did not begin when I walked into Rabbi Yossi Shem Tov's shul in Tucson, Arizona, almost 20 years ago, and he did not say, "Sir, you're holding the book upside down, would you please leave?" It actually began when, as a smart aleck teenager, I asked my uncle, Rabbi Ed Winter of Chicago, in case anyone knows him, why, since chickens don't lactate, we can't eat them with milk. Such was the great intellect of a confused teenage mind. He also did not kick me out, which was nice. Instead, he took down a book from his shelf and he patiently tried to explain the basic principles of Basar B'Chalav to me. That planted the seed. But it was not until 40 years later with this program, with this incredible Smicha program, that I actually learned the laws and the reasons for them. So, Rabbi Kesselman, if you want to know what my experience with the Smicha program was in a word, it was captivating. I would finish my work for the day. I'm a partner at a law firm, so it was typically late at night. And I would put on a shir, or I would mark up my book, and I would get completely lost in it. It was all so fundamentally interesting and relevant and challenging. So if I may speak for myself and everyone else receiving their smicha today, which includes my son Ari, as you mentioned, we planned this so that my wife could become a Rebbitzin and the mother of a rabbi on the same day. Thank you to everyone at Online Machon for building this program, for making it accessible to all of us at all different stages of life, and for helping us get through it, even though it was at times very challenging. And as illustrated by the all-night learning story, I hope that each of us receiving our smicha today will use it wisely, to good ends, and will always continue our learning. And finally, I want to remind Rabbi Kesselman that I was promised a scotch.
Yeshus, Rabbi Kesselman, Rabbi Prescott, Rabbanin Chashuvim, family, friends, and Acharon Chaviv, fellow Musmachim. Mazel Tov on this wonderful accomplishment. Your hasmada and dedication has led to this wonderful moment. Zeh hayom ha'aseh Hashem, nagila v'nismachavo. Is there a better way to honor Kadosh Baruch Hu than by hundreds of Bnei Yisrael learning His Torah at the highest level and coming together to celebrate their accomplishments, ki ish echad b'lev echad. This is why we were created. This is our tafkid in life. I'm both honored and humbled that I was asked by Rabbi Kesselman to share a few words this evening. I will try to be brief, but I've been told that brevity is not my strong suit. When I received the invitation for tonight's Chagigat Hasmicha and saw the date, I realized it was not a coincidence that tonight's Chagigat is just a few days before Gimel Tammuz, the 31st yahrzeit of the Rebbe. It was the Rebbe who championed the idea that B'nai Torah should obtain smicha in order that they should be a Rav in their own home. Each of us have a responsibility for creating and fostering a home based on Torah, mitzvot, and spirituality. To do so properly, one must firstly be able to address halachic and hashkafic questions that arise in our daily lives. This requires a breadth of knowledge of various aspects of Torah, which only comes with continuous learning from true Talmidei Chachamim. There's a second aspect of our responsibility, and that is to set an example for our children as how to be B'nai and B'not Torah. This includes instilling in them a love and appreciation of Torah and the primacy of Limud HaTorah. I think there's another reason why the Rebbe stressed the importance of obtaining smicha. As recounted by Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson in a Sicha given on Hoshana Rabbah in 1991, the Rebbe raised an interesting question. The Frierdiker Rebbe, in his biography of the Tzemach Tzedek, referred to each of the Tzemach Tzedek's sons as Admor, a term reserved for a Rebbe. And yet it was only the youngest son, known as the Rebbe Maharash, who became the Rebbe. So why, asks the Rebbe, were all the other sons given the exclusive title of Admor as well? The Rebbe went on to answer, there comes a point in history where everyone is opening to becoming a Rebbe, because each of us contain within us a spark of the Mashiach. Rabbi Jacobson believes that the Rebbe said this in order to empower our generation. The Rebbe understood that he would not be with us forever, and he wanted us to be a conduit of Hashem just as he was. The Rebbe is instructing us to find the light within ourselves, and once we do, we become a Rebbe, a complete channel for Hashem's oneness and love through our special talents, creativity, and personality. Rabbi Kesselman, Rabbi Prescott, and the entire Hanhala of Machon Smicha embody the message of the Rebbe. They have created a Makom Torah of the highest order. They've taken individuals from different locales, hashkafot, and backgrounds, and given us the tools to spread Hashem's message throughout the world in our own unique ways. Tonight's Musmachim represent Mechanchim, pulpit rabbanim, shluchim, chaplains, and lay individuals who will go forward and take the lesson of the Rebbe and be a conduit of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the world in whichever way we can, utilizing both the Torah we receive through Machon Smicha along with our God-given talents. This challenge of being a conduit of Hashem and His Torah was the ongoing message of the Rebbe throughout his lifetime and is the foundation on which Machon Smicha is built. I would like to conclude with one additional thought. We must have tremendous hakaras hatov to our wives and families for their love, support, and understanding and sacrifice why we were Melitz b'Torah. We all have limited time in our day, and when we spend time on one activity, we have to forego time on another. Quite often the time we spent learning came at the expense of family time. To you, our families, we say thank you. On a personal note, I want to thank my wife, our children and grandchildren who are both here in camp and in Eretz Yisrael, along with my in-laws and my sister and my brother-in-law who were able to come. Paraphrasing Rabbi Akiva's statement to his Talmidim regarding his wife Rachel after being away learning Torah for 24 years, Shelanu, Shelachem, all that is ours is theirs. Mazal Tov.
When we set out to create our translated and explained Shulchan Aruch, from the outset, we're already thinking about the Talmud. What's going to be the best way to present this material such that the Talmud is able to understand it, to grasp it, and to learn it on their own?
We developed a curriculum which would go through every sugya in halacha from the sources down to the bottom line psak. Instead of reading Shulchan Aruch, when you study Machon Smicha study guide, you get to see how halacha develops. You get to see the evolution of halacha.
I think in general, halacha is incredible because it's vibrant, it continues, and there is a working model where we start with learning, and then we have to apply it and figure out where it goes. And that takes us through from the Rishonim down to the very, very contemporary poskim. The goal of the Machon Smicha that I find unique and wonderful is that it opens the door for the learner to enter this base medrash and to converse with the Rishonim, the Achronim, and figure it out themselves.
The English is broken up into 4 parts. The first part is the introduction. That contains any relevant background information or concept that is going to be talked about in the Shulchan Aruch. The second section is the translation of the Shulchan Aruch. The third section is what's called discussions and explanations. That has any and all discussions from the primary Tehillim, along with any other commentary and discussions from other poskim, and also the contemporary application of the halacha. And the fourth section is the sources and notes. These are footnotes that contain additional discussions within the halacha that if the Talmud does want to take their learning to the next level, they can use that to explore.
organize the information that will best benefit the learners, the Talmidim. Not just give them the learning, but to lead them back to the sources and inspire them to learn more and more in depth.
I truly believe that somebody who learns from our translated and explained Shulchan Aruch has an unparalleled experience in their learning of halacha, both in terms of what they understand and what they know, but also the way it's presented and the experience, such that when they finish, they feel empowered to take their learning to the next level and never stop learning, to continue on and on and on.
I want to show everybody something. People say things are hot off the press, and they're normally exaggerating. This is quite literally hot off the press. I got this today. There's a typesetter by the name of Daniel Golem who's been making Leilos Kayomim to get this ready for the Chag Hasmicha. This is, not everybody's familiar with our books, but those who are, this is the new Basa B'Cholav edition of our Machon Smicha Shulchan Aruch. And in addition to the fact that all 3 volumes have been put into one, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but the book now has a whole bunch of new sections that we're tremendously excited about. Again, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm just going to tell you. The one thing we have is something that's been asked for. Well, let me just explain. We have a very diverse student body in Machon Smicha. Some Talmidim are very advanced and some need more support. And we're always trying to create programs that can speak to and can motivate everybody. So one section that we've introduced is what we're calling Mekoiros. This is for every halacha, all the Mekoiros where we've brought in our curriculum from is all listed out so that Talmidim can learn from. That's one thing. Another thing is an introduction section. This is a section that has an index of concepts, the evolution, the development of halacha going back to Moshe Rabbeinu. There's this page that tells you everything you need to know about a Shulchan Aruch. There's dictionaries at the back. You could also hit somebody really hard on the head with this because it's really heavy. So we're really, really excited to be rolling this out to the people in our Smicha program over the next couple of months. And I have to say that I was nervous to talk about this tonight because I know that I'm going to have 300 WhatsApp messages later tonight from all the Musmachim of tonight asking me how could they get a hold of the new book. So we'll get to it. So, but the truth is, the people who deserve a massive yasher koyach, some of whom are here with us and some of whom who aren't, are the curriculum writers, researchers, editors, typesetters, etc., who put together the curriculum. And I know that most people, the Talmidim don't even interact with them, but ultimately we owe everything to them. So thank you very much. Before I call up my good friend Avi Lauer, I just want to make a special mention of a certain group of Musmachim here tonight. We do have, different communities, different ages, different stages, etc. But ultimately, Shulchan Aruch is the same. We have the same Mechaber, we have the same Ramah, the same Beis Yosef, the same Shach, Taz, etc. But one particularly group that stands out are the Bochrim. Baruch Hashem, we have many. Our programs are learned, Baruch Hashem, in multiple yeshivas around the world, including Tzfas, Beit Shemesh, Sydney, Australia, Cape Town, South Africa, Atlanta, Georgia, Los Angeles, Singapore, and many more yeshivas. So all you Bochrim out there, these are Bochrim who spend many, many more hours and they need to taking the learning seriously. So for that, Mazel Tov and Yasher Koyach. All right, I want to call up now somebody who has been learning in Machon Smicha for a couple of years, and I'm almost sad that it seems like it's coming to an end because we've become great friends over the past couple of years. This is Avi Lauer. Avi is the Vice President and General Counsel at Yeshiva University, somebody who wears many, many hats, and somebody who's tremendously busy advocating for Klal Yisrael and very important causes. And nevertheless, over the past couple of years, Avi, together with his brother Simi also, and now two brother-in-laws and friends, and he's really, I owe him some commission for sending so many people to Machon Smicha. But I think Avi's just a great representation of somebody who's busy. There's a lot going on, yet nevertheless he's dedicated so many hours over the past years to learning Torah. He finished Smicha last time. Tonight he's finishing Dayan. So on that note, Avi Lauer, bechavod.
So before I begin, I really feel like we have to give tremendous hakaras hatov to Rabbi Kesselman. Did you ever see a man get so excited about a book? So good evening and mazel tov Musmachim. My name is Avi Lauer, and I'm addicted to Machon Smicha. It started innocently. I was attending weekly shiurim, learning daf yomi, but I wanted more. Something more tangible, a sense of accomplishment. I was looking for something else. I found a website with a smicha program that looked amazing. Professional, well-run, high level. I told my brother Simi about it. Our father, Olav Shalom, was a rabbi, and he and I had always talked about getting smicha together. Without hesitation, Simi said, yes, let's do it. At first, it was something I did here and there. A shir here, a halacha there. It felt fun. Then came the WhatsApp chats, the Mar Makomos, the late nights trying to keep up with that study calendar, reading study guides on Shabbos afternoons, and of course, the voice notes from Rabbi Kesselman, somehow both calming and panic-inducing. I was staying up late at night to do basar v'chalav, not to eat it, chas v'shalom, to understand it. And it got worse. I'd be in the car with my wife on the way to a wedding, and I'd quietly put a shir on. My wife would notice I wasn't paying attention to her. And one time she said, "You're not really listening to me, are you?" So I panicked. I shut the shir off very quickly. I said, "Of course I'm listening to you. You said something about accidentally dropping something in a milchik pot, right?" So without missing a beat, she responded, "It's batel b'shishim, sort of like your attention span." At my Yora Chag Hasmicha in 2023, my family sat proudly with all of you, not realizing how far this addiction had gone and how far I had sunk. That night, I came home and I quietly snuck upstairs to my office. My wife thought I was placing my newly framed smicha on the bookshelf. It was much worse than she imagined. I was actually already signing up for Yudin Yudin. That's the deep end of Machon Smicha. When I called Simi to tell him we were continuing our learning, he didn't flinch. You see, he was addicted too. So, yes, I'm addicted to Machon Smicha. But honestly, what better addiction could there be than quality limud Torah taught with clarity, thoughtfulness, and purpose? This program is truly incredible. Yes, it's a commitment. Yes, it's a lot of work. But the sense of accomplishment and the depth of knowledge and professionalism is second to none. It's not just a smicha program. It's a living example that Torah belongs to everyone at every stage of their lives. If you're wondering, should I do this? I'd say absolutely yes. Do it for yourself. Do it for your family. Do it for the fire of Torah that still burns within. I thought this line would motivate my son to do this after, but he told me as I was walking up, he already signed up. So you have another Lauer. I hope he was serious, because now he's committed. So tonight is especially meaningful because it's about continuity. I complete Machon Smicha and Dayanus along with my brother and chavrusa, Rabbi Dr. Simi Lauer. We pushed each other, we debated each other, and we found more excuses to speak to one another and stay in touch. I think our sister is a little jealous. Our father, Rabbi Elias Lauer, Olva Shalom, and our mother, Ilsa Lauer, Alea Shalom, are surely looking down at this moment with great nachas. And I welcome my aunt who joined us this evening as well. To Rabbi Kesselman and the Machon Smicha team, thank you. You've built something extraordinary and meaningful, and you should be very, very proud of it. My kids have always encouraged me. They were at the first Chag Hasmicha, and they're all here tonight. There's no greater pride in a Jewish family than celebrating a Torah accomplishment together. So as I've said before, you're never too old to embarrass your children, but you're also never too old to give them nachas. And to my wife, Eliza, you didn't just support me, you made this happen. You listened to countless shiurim in the car. I mean, really, a lot of shiurim in the car. And frankly, you knew Basar V'chalav better than I did, and if Rabbi Kesselman let you take a bechina, you'd ace it. So, although Rabbi Kesselman gave me 3 months' notice about the opportunity to say a few words tonight, I sat in shul this past Shabbos, realizing that it was just a few days away. You see, some things don't change from high school. But then it hit me. Rav Soloveitchik, in his commentary on this past week's Parsha, Shlach, reflects on the mitzvah of Psil Techeles, the blue thread amongst the white tzitzis. He explains this striking visual isn't just aesthetics. It reflects 2 dimensions of our religious lives. White represents clarity, the rational, the self-evident. It's what we understand. It's neat, ordered, manageable, just the way I like it. Ask my kids. Techeles, however, is something entirely different. The Gemara in Sota teaches that Techeles resembles the sea resembles the sky, which resembles the Kisei HaKavod, the divine throne. In other words, Techeles points us towards what is vast, distant, and beyond human comprehension. The Rav says life includes both of these aspects. We have moments of white when things are clear, but we also have moments of Techeles when we're confused, uncertain, and in pain. And both are part of our Avodas Hashem. Emunah pushes us to stay rooted in the white, to trust, to learn, to keep walking with Hashem. Techeles teaches us life isn't just about standing on solid ground. It's about striving, daring to grow, and reaching further, even when it's uncomfortable. That's what Machon Smicha is about. It's clear, structured, accessible, but it also dares you to reach deeper. It's Torah that meets you where you are, but refuses to let you stay there. As these thoughts came together in shul on Shabbos, I kept wondering, what's my one takeaway? I was also wondering if as a rabbi I should daven a little, but that's besides the point. This past Shabbos, we also recited Mevarchim HaChodesh, the blessing of the new month. And we say in the blessing of the new month, Yehi ratzon milfanecha Hashem Elokeinu, shetechadesh aleinu es hachodesh hazeh l'tova v'livracha. V'siten lanu chayim aruchim, chayim shel shalom, chayim shel tova, chayim shel bracha, chayim shel parnasa. May it be your will, Hashem, that you renew us this month for the good and with blessing, and you should give us long life, a life of peace, a life of goodness, a life of blessing, and a life of livelihood. Oddly, at the end of that prayer, there's another request. Chaim shetevanu avas Torah v'yira shamayim, a life of love of Torah and fear of heavens. this seems a little odd. Why wouldn't we ask God for a life of Torah and fear of heaven first? Isn't it more important than all the other requests we're making? More important than a long life? More important than a life of peace and goodness and blessing and livelihood? So there's a story told of a man who was quite ill, and he went to his doctor, and the doctor told him his illness could be cured, but he had to take a certain medication for 7 days. The man went to the pharmacy, and he watched the pharmacist prepare his prescription. The pharmacist put the powdered medicine into the bottle, and then he poured some water into the bottle to create a liquid medication that could be taken orally. The man went home, and he took the medication once daily for 7 days. Still feeling ill, the man returned to the doctor. The doctor was puzzled. So he asked the man, "Show me the bottle of medication that you received from the pharmacist." And the doctor took the bottle and observed a muddy substance at the bottom of the bottle with clear instructions on the label of the bottle, "Shake before use." The doctor explained to the man that he didn't follow the instructions on the bottle, and he failed to mix the medication. So the substance of the medication remained at the bottom of the bottle, and he was simply drinking water all week. Well, the same holds true for the Rosh Chodesh benching. Avas Torah and Yiras Shamayim are at the bottom, listed last, because we need them in every area of our lives. We need Chaim Shel Shalom with Avas Torah and Yiras Shamayim. We need Brachah with Avas Torah and Yiras Shamayim. And we need Chaim Shel Parnasa with Avas Torah and Yiras Shamayim. Because Avas Torah and Yiras Shamayim is life itself. Without it, there's no meaning. And it's the source and the essence of life, and without it, there is no life. So my bracha to my fellow Musmachim and all of you is Yehi Ratzon Milfanecha Hashem Elokeinu Shetichadesh Aleinu L'Tova V'Livracha V'Siten Lanu Chaim Aruchim Chaim Shel Shalom Chaim Shel Tova Chaim Shel Bracha Chaim Shel Parnasa. But most importantly, Chaim Shetevanu Avas Torah V'Yiras Shamayim. Avas Torah and Yiras Shamayim should fill every aspect of our lives, bringing with it bracha and hatzlacha, good health, nachas, and simcha. Together, we should continue to grow in Torah, deepen our connection to Hashem, and bring light to the world, one halacha, one mitzvah, one kind act at a time. Mazel tov.
Just before we move to the moment we've all been waiting for, the certificate ceremony part of the evening, Achron Chaviv, I want to call up one of the Rabbonim who, behind Machon Smicha, obviously we could do nothing without the Rabbonim who signed the certificate to on the Vad HaMasmichim. But just before I do, I also want to give one very important thank you to Rabbi Nehemiah Garevich, who is with us here tonight. Rabbi Garevich was the Shoyal Meshiv in Machon Smicha for about 5 years, and although he has gone to build his own community and Steller, etc., I know many people here owe everything to Rabbi Garevich. So thank you for that. I want to call up Dayan Levi Raskin, who has come from London to be with us here tonight to share some Divrei Brachah with the Musmachim, after which we will move to the certificate ceremony.
Good evening, all. I'm truly, truly impressed by what we've seen tonight. I saw a little bit of a taste before. Rabbi Kesselman showed me on the program, but really it is halavai 45 years ago we would have had this kind of support when we were learning for Smicha, etc. I'd like to say the following. The Rambam was very modern in his approach. If Torah before the Rambam had to be halacha, you had to find a bit of Hilchos Shabbos and Gemara Ksubis and Hilchos Basa B'cholov, you might find in Zvochim, etc. The Rambam made Torah extremely accessible by presenting it in a predictable place, a predictable way. Shulchan Aruch means it's there, it's presented on the table, ready for you to take. Machon Smicha has taken this to a totally new level. B'chol asar v'asar. It's made Torah accessible and halacha accessible wherever, whenever, and using modern technology. Not only the fact that it is available through online methods, but also what we've seen here, the presentation has been utilizing the technology to give the Torah, to give the halacha in an extremely accessible way, and for that is a tremendous yasher koyach. Yeshaya Hanovi tells us about a time when someone will say to his chaver, Simlo lecho, kotzin tihi yalonu. You have the garment, you have the gown, be for us a captain. Talking about the attitude of others towards someone who has majored in Torah. Curiously, similar lecha, you have the gown. In graduation ceremonies in other academies, they will put on a gown, they will put on a mortarboard. Somehow seeing the one who's now got the qualifications of knowledge to be wearing a type of garment. Rabbonis. The word Rabbonis means greater than. It means leadership. Klal Yisrael are desperate for leadership. From my experience, I'm sure any other of people are in this generation are looking for someone to mentor them, to give them guidance, to give them support. Where do they turn to? They turn to the people who learned Basa B'cholov. They learned Melicha. It doesn't matter. In their mind, someone who is qualified in Torah is a source of guidance and inspiration. So which I want to say to the following. Amongst the Musmachim tonight, some of you are possibly looking into career of Rabbonis. Some of you are probably going to think, I'm going to remain a balabos with my current garment. It doesn't matter. As was mentioned by one of the speakers this evening, in the eyes of other people, you have been qualified as, with your smicha, they will see you as a source of guidance and inspiration. Last week's Sedre, we finished off with Parashas Tzitzis, as mentioned before. And there is a halacha in Hilchos Tzitzis. I don't want to wax too eloquently about this, but there is a din of al hakonof v'loi tachas hakonof, which means that the tzitzis have to be suspended from the talus in a way that they're not right at the bottom, hanging straight down. They have to be hanging by the side, and they are, there's a lashon also in the Gemara Menachos, maka al hakeren, al hakonof v'loi tachas hakonof, which from this point I want to take out two messages. The talus is the square, and in Rabbonis, you need to think out of the box. That's the tzitzis, which are reaching out beyond the square, beyond the frame, finding innovative solutions to challenging problems. Together with out of the box, it has to be, the tzitzis has to be al hakonof, not tachas hakonof, not going away from the box, but developing along with your attachment with the box, with the Torah. The second point, a sicha which we learned just this past Shavuos, when Moshe Rabbeinu comes down from Har Sinai. So we have the emphasis of Chazal, Lo pono la'asokov, Elo min hohor el ha'om. He goes down from the mountain and he goes straight to shepherding his folk, his flock. What do you think Moshe Rabbeinu's asokov? What would he have wanted to go and deal with? Did he want to go and check his email? Did he want to go and make sure his investments were running well? What asokov Moshe Rabbeinu could have gone into his beidus, gone into his own room, into his own tent, and thought about Gadlos Habayit. He had this amazing experience of being at Har Sinai, receiving the Torah. He could have devoted that time for introspection. Moshe Rabbeinu knew that he was not brought up to Har Sinai just for himself. He was brought there to be a manhig for Klal Yisrael, min ha'or el ha'om. His privilege is in order to share and to inspire. And therefore, this is my message to the Musmachim. Take your qualifications. See this as I had a discussion with a Brachah. Does it mean knowledge is power? Knowledge means you have the ability to influence. Influences are now very, very much in the vogue. Being knowledgeable means, by Shver Alav Hashalom, Nachman Sudak, he would say, means not rebuke, it means convince, bring them over. So with your qualification, with the respect you have earned with this, use this to have a positive influence. Abbas HaTorah, as was mentioned before, and Mkara Zayin Eden Tachas Kamfi Hashchina. Yasher Koyach to Harav Kesselman, to Harav Prescott, and to all those who are, you can see behind the scenes, the tremendous Talmidei Chachamim, but using those skills to bring Mirahor El Ha'om, and maybe Bizoiche Bekor of Mamish, to sit by the Shulchan Aruch, with the Sudas, with the Sheir HaBor, with the Lev Yoson, with Moshiach Tzidkeinu, B'meher of Yomeinu Mamish.
Thank you very much, Dayan Raskin. All right, the moment we've all been waiting for has arrived. Actually, before we do that, I have about a 20-minute speech that I still want to give. No, I just want to give a few thank yous. First of all, I would like to thank, as already has been mentioned, the Machon Smicha team, Rabbi Prescott, our writing team, so Yasher Koyach. I would also like to thank Rabbi Shlomo Leib Goldman, who runs our warehouse and shipping department. I would like to thank Rabbi Nechemia Garevich, as I mentioned before. I would like to thank Mendel Rosenfeld and Swiss Events Productions for putting on this event. I would also like to give a massive shout out to Rivki Lieberman and Hindi Radchik of Motif Studio, who did the branding and the gorgeous design for the event tonight. Also Mendel Deitch, who is on the music, and anybody else who is involved. I also want to finally give a thank you to, actually second last thank you, is to all those who flew in. I know there's over 100 people who flew in for this event tonight, whether it's from Australia, South Africa, Eretz Yisrael, who wanted to come in, even though some people seemed like they managed to sneak in. So Yasher Koyach for flying in. I also would be remiss if I didn't thank my own wife, Mushka. It's actually our anniversary tonight. So thank you for everything that you do. All right. We are going to do the following. For the purposes of this not taking about an hour and a half, because Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of Musmachim. It's a good problem to have. We are going to call up, first of all, as follows. There is dessert in the other room. Everybody can go and enjoy, so you don't have to stick around. All Musmachim, please, you're invited to come up. If you have a certificate, please come up. We are going to take, one second, let me finish so that I can explain. We're going to take one grand picture. Rabbanim, stay where you are. We're going to take one giant grand picture with everybody. All Musmachim, if you have a certificate, or if you're a Musmach and you don't have a certificate, please come up now and make yourself comfortable. Yasher Koyach, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. What a beautiful event. Bezras Hashem, next event will be 4 times the size. Yasher Koyach, thank you so very much. everybody come on stage. There's still a lot more space on stage. We're going to have to squish. Okay, we need everybody to move back. Whoever is taking pictures, we're going to need you to move back. There's still more space on stage. Come. We're going to have to push and squish. Alright, we still need everybody to move back. We need you to move back. I apologize. You are an expert photographer. There is no question about that. But we actually have a professional who needs to take a picture. So we need everybody to move back as much as possible. As back as possible. Alright, everybody push in as much as you can. Alright, we still need people to move back. We need all the men in the crowd to move back. We need all the men in the crowd to move back. Thank you very much. Okay, everybody, we're gonna do a picture now. Everybody look at the photographer. Don't look at your father, mother, sister, brother, husband, wife. And we need everybody to move back more also. Thank you very much. Should we, Mr. Photographer? Okay, we're getting there. How we doing? Okay, everybody look at the photographer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep looking. All right, we are good. Mazel tov, mazel tov. All right, if you do want to take a picture with, I'm going to ask you to go off the stage. know what? To make things easier, we will do pictures outside. Myself and Rabbi Prescott will be outside. If you want to take a picture, we'll be there. Everybody else, you can go enjoy desserts. Yasher koyach for joining. Thank you very, very much. Once again, myself and Rabbi Prescott will be outside in front of that big blue banner. If anybody wants to take a picture, we will be there all night.